Hello, everyone. It is so good to see you today. I'm glad to be here. As always, we come on the Friday of the month. I'm sorry, that was like a stutter. Okay, so let me start over again. Welcome to What's New and Coming Up with Lipedema. I am Gail Straker, the community manager, and I'm here today with my beloved friend and colleague, Siobhan Huggins. Hi, Siobhan. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Siobhan. I'm the research specialist with the Lipedema project. So I do a whole bunch of different stuff, but right here, I'm right now just enjoying this lovely moment with everyone.
Oh, and Siobhan and I don't get to talk to each other very much anymore. Um, oh, it seems like this is where we get to talk. The rest of the time we're going in different directions. So we're going to talk to you today about a couple of events that we have coming up, and we are also going to share a tip or two, and so hopefully you'll be able to interact with us. I see that Patsy is already here. She's coming from Southwest Arkansas, and they have a little bit of a cool down, it looks like, departure from the regular heat. So
Same
it's
here, actually. It has been raining every evening and quite cloudy on a few different days. So it's actually cooled down pretty substantially, which I'm very thankful for because my apartment does not really have a working air conditioner. So,
right. And Siobhan, you're in Boulder, Colorado, correct?
yeah.
And it's really amazing. You think, oh, Colorado, it's going to be nice and cool up in the mountains, but that's not how it works.
No, we've had above 100-degree weather. We've had a couple 95 to 100-degree over just like the past couple of weeks, which is like 35 to 37 degrees Celsius, by the way. So
Right.
not
Yeah.
cool and breezy at all.
Right. And I'm here in Idaho, and a lot of people think, oh, Idaho, lovely mountains. Yes, we do have mountains, but we can't see them right now because of the smoke coming
Mm,
from Oregon and Idaho and Washington fires. The wildfires always take us out in the summertime, but we actually live in a desert, um, an arid area, right? And because of that, we're on I call it the lee side of the mountains, and so as they come over the top of the Sierra Nevada range, they come up over the top. They drop all their moisture. Those clouds drop all their moisture over there. They come over here and they're like, "Sorry, Gail, I don't got no rain for you."
yeah, I mean, I will say I am glad that Colorado is as dry as it is because if it were like Texas or Florida, like wonderful places. I love Texas. I have family there, but it's so humid. The shade doesn't do anything, and it's like 80 degrees in the middle of
Right.
the night. It's
But
horrible. So at least here in like more deserty areas, when the sun goes down, it gets cold really fast, and the shade actually does provide protection from the heat. So no complaints here. I just survive the summer and wait for the winter.
right. And we do too. And like Anne Marie says that she's from New Jersey. It's 91 sunny and humid.
Hmm.
And I know that humid. I've lived back east, what I call back east. I lived on the East Coast before, and I will tell you when it's humid, you can't even breathe.
Hmm.
And I was telling people the other day, oh yeah, we've got 18% humidity.
Yeah.
And then I snicker. I'm like, but it's 110, but it's a dry heat.
Yeah. I mean, I never really understood that growing up because I grew up in Indiana and it's like the heat just sucks, whatever. But Indiana is also very humid. And so
Yeah,
now it's like it's given me this buff against heat where it's just like it's a dry heat. It's not that bad. And my
right.
husband actually got to experience that because we went to Texas to go visit some family and we got off the plane at 11 p.m. and he stepped outside the airport and he was like, oh my God, what is wrong with this place? Because the wall of heat just slams into you. And it's like,
Right,
That's why we
right.
don't live here.
And right, and I know that we're talking about the weather and oh, we don't talk about much. We're talking about the weather. So what's it? Why is it so important? And I know that our audience probably goes, oh, I know why it's important. But Siobhan, why would you think it's so important to think about the weather? Those of us with lipedema.
Well, with lipedema, there's this huge influence on the weather because a lot of people experience heat induced edema. So when it's really hot, they start swelling really bad. I know I've experienced that a lot. And it's part of why I don't like the heat very much. And when I went in to get my lipedema diagnosis, the physician was asking, like, do you get heat induced edema? And I was like, well, I don't know because I don't go out into the heat because it makes me really nauseous. And she's like, okay, yes, you do. So it's not always like self evident to people that they're swelling, but I've noticed a lot of people in the Facebook group saying, like, when it's really hot, their lipedema symptoms get worse, or they feel so sluggish, so fatigued, like they just have to sleep, all of this stuff. And then, like with the storms rolling through, pressure changes can impact the lymphatics too. So the reason that going on a plane can sometimes make people swell more is the pressure changes of the up and down and the decreased pressure in the plane, stuff like that. And some people experience the same exact thing from the barometric pressure from storms. So we've heard that a ton in terms of like, oh, I can feel it's going to rain. My knee is acting up with people who've had like arthritis or previous injuries, stuff like that. Same thing with lipedema. It's messing with the lymphatics and it can sometimes make pain worse or swelling worse or just fatigue, feeling very tired and brain foggy and icky. So it is relevant to lipedema in terms of what the heck do we do about it? Like, obviously, stay cool if you can, but some people don't have air conditioners. There's lots of people in Europe and the UK who don't. There's plenty of places in the US that doesn't have air conditioning. Or like a single window unit like I have that when it's really hot, all it does is bring in hot air into the apartment, so it's worthless. And so the pool, I think, is really fantastic. When I get super bad heat-induced edema to the point where it starts pitting in my leg, then getting into the pool is like the one thing that will reliably bring it down. And I'm lucky in that there's a pool near where I live, so it's easy access. Some people don't have access to a pool. So maybe fill up a big barrel and just stand in it because it's really just the water pressure that's helping.
Well, and it sounds a little silly, but I remember when before we have a above ground pool. We never had one when I was raising my kids. We never had one ever. We just didn't. It was an expense that we weren't going to do, and it's going to kill the grass, and it's going to, and it was just something we never did. And plus, then we'd have to upkeep it, right? You got to do all the chemical and the filtering and the cleaning, and it's like blah. I got 3 kids to raise. There's no way I got time to pool. And it wasn't in our pocketbook to hire a pool boy in a little, bikini or whatever to come out and do my pool for me. So I never got I never got a pool. I never got a pool boy. I never got a pool.
What a shame.
I know. However, our daughter-in-law, sorry for the construction noise. My house is always under construction. Um, but so my daughter-in-law loves having an above ground pool, and so we've had one for several years, and I'm able to get in and out. And I think that that's one of the most important things about a pool. Please be safe. Be able to get in and out safely, and you can do some amazing things, even if it's just walking in the water. But when my kids were little, I had one of those hard plastic, um, 10 inches deep, 12 inches deep that you buy on the outside of Walmart or the grocery store. I have a few out there. And I would buy one of those things. This was before I even drove. I started driving at 23. And so before I even drove, I'd take one of those. I'd take one of those pools, and I have one kid on my shoulders, right, and the other two were like holding onto the pool, and I'd have it on the wagon, and I would I would tow that pool home from the grocery store. It was about half mile, 3/4 of a mile up the road. And I'd be going down the side of the road with this pool on the wagon because it was so good to fill that pool with cold water, put my feet, sit on a lawn chair and put my feet in it and drag that water over my legs
Mm-hmm.
way before. I mean, 40 years ago, I was doing that, cooling my legs off. And as I would cool my legs off, my ankles would quit swelling.
Mm-hmm.
And so from the very beginning of my journey, before I knew I had lipedema, I was I would be splashing and cooling. Plus the kids loved it as well, you know. But yeah, I would sit, Mom, come get in the pool with us, and I'd sit on the edge and put my feet in that water. Sometimes I'd put the whole chair in the water, and have to cool off because the heat really made me feel overwhelmed. I'd say
Mm-hmm.
crappy, but it was just there was this overwhelm and exhausted and fatigue. I always thought it was because I was obese, I was fat, and as I learned about lipedema, I realized, oh, it's because of this sluggish lymphatic system, and
Mm-hmm.
I need to get that pool. So, I should have put Epsom salts in it and just had an Epsom salts bath. But no, there was too much grass and dirt there to be comfortable with all those
Yeah.
kids. The whole neighborhood would come play in my pool. Okay, so now that we've talked about the weather, um, we need to bring up a couple of things because we talking about the weather, talking about how we function through our day, how all the different little things that we do. Those are those are called modalities. The things that we do to treat lipedema or to manage lipedema, those are we call them modalities. And we have a free webinar coming up with the amazing, wonderful doctors Leslyn Keith and Catherine Seo. It's called Optimal Treatments for Lipedema. It's Thursday, August 8th, so it's in 2 weeks, 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to drop that into the comments while Siobhan talks to you about stuff.
Yeah, so I've seen a lot in the Facebook groups, especially talking about, being newly diagnosed or just trying to revisit this concept of what can I do to help myself with lipedema? What are the options, even? And that is what this is going to be talking about. It's going to be talking about different conservative treatments that's available, and then really figuring out how to personalize it for you. Because, like, you come into lipedema and you have this question of, like, first you can come from this place of, I can't do anything. But then you're hopefully corrected out of that sense and said, oh, no, wait, here's all of this stuff that you can do. And then it's like, wait, which one do I pick? Because there's a million different things that you can do. There's compression, and there's aquatic therapy, and there's MLD, and there's nutritional therapy. There's all these different things. There's pain relief, specifically stuff for that. And my phone is ringing, so let me silence it. So then it's this issue of navigating it. And because it comes into this question of, like, how do you decide? Like, do you go with the one that's going to be the most effective overall, or do you target, like, something that's going to bother you the most specifically, or is it the one that's the easiest to access for you? Is it the one that's easiest to mentally consider for you? So there's all these questions that come into it. And this webinar is just going to be talking about, like, what are the options? How do you pick what's best for you? Because that's really the only important thing that matters, if this is best for you specifically.
Right. And it's really important to realize we might show you a whole pile full of options. That doesn't mean all these options you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's really important to remember that. I know that we often get questions like, can you just give me a list of things that I need to do? And we always go, well, we don't really know what you personally need to do, but here are some options. And sometimes those an option, you might say, I want to work up to that option.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm already doing that, but I want to expand on that option, right? And I'm going to try to fit that option into my life. So, it's not what is Patty Cornute? She's um, fitness lipedema fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And um, she says it's not all or nothing. It's all or something, right? I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
do something. And so you don't need to think, oh, there's all these things, I've got to do them all. You don't even have to pick one. You can consider one, right? Just
Yeah.
think about doing it. Will make your life better, because as Patsy says, I also have time to incorporate a new modality before adding the next. That approach is working for me as a newbie. Yeah, you have to have time or energy, motivation, desire um, to be able to add a new modality in, or at least um, consider it, because so many of us have such busy lives, or we have fatigue or something keeping us from doing things. So that's why it's got to fit into our life.
Yeah, and it helps to take some time before adding new stuff anyway, to add something new in and just sit with it for a while and see, is it actually working for you? Because some things you add in and it's like, well, this is more trouble than it's worth, or it's not actually helping me for whatever reason, or maybe you have something else going on that makes it not a great fit. So taking it just one bite at a time and just like savoring it. Do you like the flavor of it? Does it make you feel good after you take that bite? All of that is just good. And it's also going to change over people's lives too, because, you know, when you're my age, lipedema treatment may look very different compared to if I have a baby and get pregnant, or once I get older, once going through menopause, or even just comparing my treatment for summer is different than it is in winter because of what I'm dealing with, or when I'm traveling is different than when I'm at home. So that's another thing that's helpful, is some things you only use in certain situations and then you put them away until you need them again.
And some things you don't. I mean, some things you don't do every day. Some
Mm-hmm.
things you do every day. Like right now, I am doing the Big Six every
Me
day.
too.
You too. Can you talk to us a little bit about the Big Six, or at least let people know what it is?
Yeah, so the Big Six is a lymphatic treatment that comes from Perry Nicholson. He has a bunch of different interviews on YouTube. So he kind of walks through the process too. And it's not difficult or complicated at all, which is kind of cool. You don't need any special tools for it or anything like that. So what it is you go over 6 different points. So, and you do it in a specific order because you're trying to open up pathways before you add pressure to those. So it's the collarbones, behind the ears on both sides, armpits both sides, stomach, inguinal lymph nodes, which is between the thigh and the pelvis, and then behind the knees. And basically you're rubbing or rubbing back and forth. He says there are a couple different options, and then tapping to add a little bit of vibration, which can help get the fluid just moving. And you just do that in all 6 areas, and that's it. And he also has some additional stuff in terms of bouncing on your heels and trying to get more of that lymphatic flow and stimulation going. And you just do that every day. Or sometimes, dialing it back. We do have some people who do, the big one. We have a group who's trying it out and seeing, does it help people? Is it useful? So there are some people who do the big 1, big 2, big 3, or the big 6. Some people are doing it multiple times a day. But it's super interesting because people are seeing changes happening. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's just interesting to try things as a group and see what happens, but then also like the impacts that it's having. Some people are seeing swelling going down. I've seen that I've been able to handle the storms coming through a little bit easier. And if I do it when I get that breathlessness and the feeling like I'm swelling from the pressure change of the storm, then I'll do the big 6, and that'll actually help reduce some of that. So it's another useful tool that we're seeing. And it's cool to just have other options of, like, there are new things that are being discovered and talked about and that people are trying and reporting back. So I think that's fun to just have, like, here's another thing, especially something that anybody can do, and just try out and see if it works for them.
I'm going to put Dr. Nicholson's name in.
Yeah, and if you look up Perry Nicholson Big 6 on YouTube, then you'll find videos where he goes through the whole thing and he explains how to do it. And I would also recommend talking to your lymphatic therapist if you have one about trying it out. Just like with starting other lymphatic treatments like MLD, some people do experience like headaches, or some people experience dizziness and just like sometimes nausea. Like, we've talked about this in terms of starting MLD too, but the same exact thing can happen. You can feel kind of ick because if you're getting stagnant fluid moving again, you have to think about everything that's in that fluid, because the lymphatic system is supposed to remove all of the waste from the tissues, all of the proteins, even things that stimulate inflammation. The lymphatics are supposed to handle that. So you suddenly get that emptying out into the bloodstream, and it can not feel so great. And then also the other thing is, once you get it into the bloodstream, you're going to get rid of it entirely if it makes it all the way through. And that means you might feel bad because you've just lost a bunch of fluid. And with the fluid means you're also losing electrolytes, so sodium, potassium, magnesium, all of that, which means you may need to supplement with electrolytes afterwards. I know I did, especially in the beginning, like way, way more than I'm used to supplementing, because that's just how much fluid I was losing. So,
and I want to bring Rhonda up here. She says she does the big 6, and then she dry brushes. So some people are doing the big 6 and Dr. Perrin's, a couple of Dr. Perrin's techniques. So what we're finding with the big 6, like I do it twice a day. Now I never did it once a day, except the very first day, because I did it I actually did it twice that day. But I don't do it once a day. I've never done it just once a day. I always do it in the morning, and I do it at night. And what I find that it does for me in the morning is it brightens my mood. It makes me less grumpy. It's like I can think better. So the brain fog is left. My energy levels are zinging through the roof. I mean, I'm not like exhausted and staring at the ceiling sometimes anymore. The other thing it does for me, though, which is really interesting, is I do it before I go to bed, and then I go right to sleep. So it helps me sleep. I'm getting deeper sleep. I'm getting more hours of REM sleep. And actually what's happening is I'm not sleeping as long. It's shortened my sleep, but my sleep must be a higher quality. I wear an Aura ring, so only my Aura ring is telling me my patterns. I'm trusting it. But I noticed a marked difference after a week. So it's just been this change in me. I've got my husband on a 10-day free sample, free trial, and he's not very compliant. Oh, I forgot. So anyway, but that's okay, because he didn't know what it might help him with, but he hasn't been consistent, so he doesn't know yet. So I'm trying to get him to do it consistently so that we can actually see if it's benefiting him. But with that, what I've discovered is I want to do it now. So we said, what modalities do you do? And you go, oh, I like that. I like the big 6. It's a happy space for me. Even the jiggling of my belly. And I've added I've now added the 50 belly pound, the 50 belly pats. I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
the belly blah 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 blah. Anyway, and so I've added that one, and then I'm going to add another one. I'll probably do the inguinal rub afterward. But it's so interesting that I enjoy this little part of this little 2.5 minutes of my day in the front and in the back of that day. It really makes. I think it's because it makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You
and
know,
I've definitely found it useful for me as well. I feel like my abdominal swelling has been going down, and before all the storms came through, one after the other, I was getting that breathlessness less. And then one time when a storm did come through, I was hanging out outside at a nearby park, and I felt that breathlessness, and I was like, that's weird. Looked up, there's a storm coming through, and as I was gathering up my knitting and stuff to head back inside, I felt it actually pass on its own, which is very unusual for me. Usually I have to like take a supplement or like get in the pump or something like that to get it to pass, and this actually did it on its own. So it seems like that resiliency is going up for me. I wouldn't say I super enjoy it. Usually it's like right before I go to bed, like, oh, I just want to sleep. And then it's like, you haven't done the big six yet. It's like, oh, so I'm just like, okay, whatever. But it's so easy to do that I can get myself to do that. And part of my issue is I'm just resistant to any change in my routine at all because I don't want to add another thing to my to-do list. But Patsy in the comments said, just added dry brushing and struggling to be consistent with it and adding big six. Perhaps I need to focus on big six first. Yeah, I think if you're struggling to do, like, trying to add another thing, just focus on, like, doing the big six, making it a habit. So it's just hopefully becoming routine for you. You don't really have to think about doing it, or at least you're used to it if habits don't come as easily for you. And then once you're more used to it being part of your routine, add in the dry brushing afterwards. Once it's just a little bit mentally easier to add another thing. Like that's the thing. If something is too difficult, how can you make it less difficult? Should be the next question. Instead of just trying to like, well, I have to try harder to do both. Well, no, you don't actually.
right. And and one of the things about the big six is I think to myself, well, how I counted, do the circles 10 times, pat 10 times. I'm like, so what I've got 6 points. So multiply that times 20. How long does it take for me to count to 20? Or 6, 10, 100 and how long does it take me to count to 120? That's all I got to do because that's what it is. Oh, it takes me 2.5 minutes along with the bouncing and jiggling on my arms. Okay, I'm good. And so if I think 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes of just stop, focus, breathe, and do this. Follow the one of his beginning little routines, and you're like, oh, that's in and out. But I do have to tell you, when I first started, on day 2, we started on a Thursday. On day 2, I was a Friday. I slept I couldn't keep my eyes open.
That is the thing. Do not start this when you have a bunch of stuff to do later that day, because one of the things that multiple people have commented on is that it made them really, really tired, or they slept for a long time, like not just through the night, but like needed to take naps throughout the day and could not keep their eyes open. So just be aware, try to do it when you don't have a lot. And that's the same for starting up MLD as well, manual lymphatic drainage. Pick it on a day where you don't have a lot to do that day.
Yeah. It took me, in fact, so I started on the Thursday, couldn't keep my eyes open on Friday. My aunt, we were out shopping, and she kept saying to me on Saturday morning, "Are you okay, Gail? What's going on with you?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know if I should really be driving, right? Because I was just like, I was spacey. And then it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We were getting ready for a party. Is why we were out shopping. So I remember exactly when all of a sudden it was like, boink. And I was like, hey, my energy levels. And she goes, oh, and what have you taken for you? I'm like, I haven't taken anything. I'm just having a good time. And she's like, okay. But now she's like, oh my gosh, Gail. But, it's kind of like I'm back. And
Yeah.
and I've had people ask me before, what are you on? Well, and that's
I'm
what I
on
was on.
life. I'm on healthier
I'm on life.
lymphatics. How about you?
Yeah. And people are just like, oh my gosh, is that the real you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of
Yeah.
wound up,
And
so
that's one thing I've noticed too, is that I've been able to take care of some projects that have been around for a long time. Like this, for example, used to be a sweater. There's like 20 other little balls like this. I ripped out a sweater that
I
my
know what
mom
sweater
had made me. Yeah, you've probably seen
I
it
know
before.
what sweater you're talking about.
It's not the blue and green one. That one's still alive. That's fine.
Okay.
This one was a pure blue one. My mom made me before I went keto, and this is superwash, so I could not shrink it in the dryer. I tried, so it was way too loose, and I had been planning on ripping that thing out for at least 4 years. And after starting the Big Six, like this sounds like an advertisement, changed my life, whatever. But this is a weird thing I noticed. Suddenly, one day I just looked at that sweater and I was like, I'm going to sit down and rip out that sweater, because it also had like moth holes and stuff like that. And since I'll be going down a size or two, even with the yarn I lost from the rip out, like it broke at certain points and it was too short to do anything with, I'll have enough yarn to make a new sweater after I wash this and get the kinks out.
Nice.
So I've been able to do like work stuff without having to take constant breaks after doing a little bit. So that like mental energy is starting to come back a little bit, which is nice. And I don't know, at some point I'll probably like plateau with the benefits or whatever, but I'm just glad it's like something that seems to be doing something. Because sometimes it feels like you get stuck, like nothing's going to work. Like nothing's going to make me feel better. You just get like super down, and just having something super easy that's easy to do and it's getting real benefits, like not placebo type stuff, is nice to just have something easy.
Yeah. And Siobhan, don't we have something coming up where we're going to talk to Dr. Nicholson?
Yeah. So this September, we're going to be having our bi-yearly. Bi-yearly is always weird because it's like, is it twice a year or is it once every other year?
Semi-annual.
Yeah, semi-annual. Let's call it that. So we're going to be having our September event, and we're inviting a bunch of people over, new people, people we've had before, a good mix. And our September events focus on the holistic approach. So like I was just talking about with that webinar, if you go to that webinar and you still have questions or you still want more details, because a 30-minute webinar cannot cover this 3-day event, everything that's going to be in there. So if you still have stuff you want to explore, or if you need help from your peers to help you navigate, or just a more, interacting with people type environment, being able to talk to other people who are there, being able to really plan out your next steps and figure it out, then this is what that event is for. So newly diagnosed, or you've been diagnosed for a long time, or you don't have a diagnosis and you're just saying, that sheet that you guys have, I checked off every single box, or most of them, or whatever, that's me. All are welcome. And this is a very interactive event, like I mentioned. So we do have breakout groups where people can discuss what they just talked. If you have questions about it, you can ask other people, do you know what the heck they just said? Oh, that's what they meant. But the other thing is the participation is not forced. This isn't like middle school where everybody has to go around in a circle and you don't get to get out of it, or you get sent to the principal's office. It's whatever your comfort level is. If your participation is listening, then that is perfectly fine.
I thought I was going to get in trouble, and that's why I talked.
I thought I was going to get in trouble. That's why I showed up to this live stream. No, but like we're wherever your comfort level is at. My comfort level is coming to this live stream and talking to you guys. So that's why I'm here.
I'm so sorry. I thought I was going to get in trouble, so I showed up here. Yeah, by golly, Siobhan. Last week I was by myself. This week you better be here.
No.
Silly girl.
Last week I had a couple hours of sleep that night, and I said I'm not going to be worth anything on that live stream if I go, so I'm going to go to bed.
So when I introduced the live stream last week, I said, okay, so Catherine is moving and Leslyn is helping, her partner Bill, and Siobhan is doing something exciting. So I'm here by myself.
I was taking a nap.
You were sleeping. Well, that's exciting, Siobhan.
It was exciting for me because, if you've only had 2 hours of sleep, and I had tried multiple times throughout the day actually to take a nap, and I was exhausted, but I could not sleep, which if you've ever dealt with insomnia is like the worst torture that can ever be done to a person, is needing to sleep and not being able to. So it was very exciting to me to take a nap for, I think it was only like 45 minutes, but it was enough to get me through the day.
See, I don't lie. Siobhan was doing something exciting.
Yeah, there we go.
On logs. No, it was okay, Siobhan.
I know you can handle things.
And you've had to do it by yourself before too. So,
yeah, that was my comfort. Is I've had to do it before.
Yep.
I got through it.
Someone was here.
Yeah.
So, but just to just talk to a little bit more about this Heart to Heart event conference. Right now it's $97. We know that this early bird special is not going to last forever. We are just waiting for the powers that be to tell us, okay, price increase, right? So make sure that if you've been wanting to do this, make sure that you sign up. And here's the thing, if for any reason you just cannot afford the $97, makes sense. Some of us, that's a lot of money right now, right? And I just don't have it in my pocket, right? No problem. Make sure that you reach out to Catherine or Isla, and that's at support@lipedemasimplified.org. Let me pop that. I know it's right here. I see it all the time.
Well, while you do that, Patsy said my UFO pile, which is unfinished object for the non-crafters here, my unfinished object pile is reducing because I feel like knitting again. That's wonderful.
Yay!
Yeah, having mental energy to work on hobbies is fantastic. I am in big support of people having hobbies that have nothing to do with lipedema, because it's so easy for the management and self-care aspect to take over your entire life. But having hobbies and things you can be proud of is awesome. And also, please let us know what you're working on. I'm curious.
Yeah. Here's the thing about all of it. All the things that we live with lipedema, so we do our hobbies with lipedema. We do everything. It seems like sometimes it just, well, I can't do that, lipedema. And we're like, okay, enough. I just want to be able to do this beautiful piece. I want to be able to get into my creative self. And the more we get into our creative selves, the happier, the more we're actually better for the world if we're creative, if we are able to access our creative selves. And I'm going to speak kind of. I'm going to kind of be preachy here, but by golly, that's where women can rule the world.
Yeah.
Like Pinky Brain, right? What are we going to do today, Brain?
Yeah, and let me say it here in case anybody needs to hear it. We do not live to manage lipedema. We manage lipedema so that we can live our lives. So,
well, exactly. Patsy says she's binding off the bottom of a summer tee right now. It's a gift for a knitting friend. A work of joy now that I can knit again.
Yay!
There is something to be said about a home, just a handcrafted item. I've been the lucky recipient of a couple of beautiful items from Siobhan, and I will tell you, I probably take care of those 3 items. Well, I have there are 5 items that she made me, but those 3 knitted ones, I probably take care of those better than anything else in my home. Because when I create something for somebody, I think about that. I'm a crocheter, and I will think about that person with every stitch.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't know who I'm making it for, which is also fine, I just think a loving thought with every stitch,
Yeah.
knowing full well that this stitch is going to be enjoyed and it's creating this beautiful thing. And I have I have received great blessings from being able to make things that, whether it brings joy to somebody else or not, it brings joy to me, and
Yeah.
therefore it brings joy to the world. Yeah. So, Siobhan, we've got a comment here. Good slogan: manage lipedema to live life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
I think that's the point where if I could get everybody in the lipedema community, whether they're actively engaged in the community or not, like anybody with lipedema, if I could get them to any place in the world, it would be managing their lipedema and their symptoms to the point where it doesn't interfere with their life and they can start living their life again. Because
right,
there are a lot of people who have lost their mobility, who have stopped participating in life because of the levels of pain or the levels of fatigue or the impaired mobility. And if we can start thinking about that, not in terms of, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. But like, if I do this, what is it that I want to get back that I have lost? And sometimes that's as simple as feeling at peace with your body and regaining that connection with your body. I know a lot of people have lost that and are still trying to get that back. Sometimes it's being able to go and walk down to the mailbox. Sometimes it's being able to get out of bed. Sometimes it's being able to make dinner. It's a ton of different things, but those are the things that matter, is being able to live those parts of your life and just be able to get that back. Because, I mean, that is
right,
the whole point of life, to be able to do the things that you want to do.
right. And when you say that, when we have these, when we say, well, you have to listen to your body and you have to live life the best you can in your body, but how do you do that? Sometimes our memories are such that we don't even remember
Mm-hmm.
the joy, right? We don't
Yeah.
remember being free and easy because we haven't been free and easy for so long. And so we do have a couple of questions here. Um, it's like here I want to talk about this question from from Auntie Meg, but so it's she has a question about the heart to heart event.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Will we be asked to buy things at the conference? I'm happy that I got my ticket early, but that is really all I can currently afford. Yes, you will not. Yes, no. No, I'm sorry. No, you will not be asked to buy anything. Now, do we have options that we'll invite you in for? We will always invite the community, the audience, to make a donation to Lipedema Project if they can. You will we will say, this is how you support Lipedema Project. That's our research arm. So we will do that during the event, and we will also open up Tribe. We open up Tribe um, 2 times a year for sure, and we just opened it up again after Lipedema Awareness Month. But we open up the community, so we would invite you to join the tribe, which is a paid membership, and it's a small paid membership. So we will offer those and invite you to those, but we will not, it's not a sales pitch. It's not, hey, here you are. We do want to make sure that anybody who does want to join Tribe can join Tribe after word, and anybody who wants to make a donation to Lipedema Project, we will show what we've been doing with that. But those are two things that we always do. We always want people to know the tribe is available or something is available. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, and one thing to point out with that is that at the events we get a lot of new people. So mainly when we're talking about donating and tribe and future events and stuff like that, we're raising people's awareness level in case they're not aware that we do other things than just the one event, and say, hey, if you want to do this, you can do this. And some people are in such overwhelm and they don't want the event to end, that when they realize that they can go join tribe and get additional help and support, that they really do want to do that. And that's mainly what we're talking about there. For people who are interested, it's an option. But if you can't afford it, or if you just don't want to, there's no pressure, there's no judgment, there's nobody who's going to wag a finger at you and say, well, shoulda, coulda, woulda, blah, blah, blah. That's not what it's about.
Right. And you do have to remember that we have these events all the time for you. The event goes in deeper, and then the tribe is the connection. That's the community. That's where you will, it's a friendship and a support group. And so we do offer that. But Auntie Meg, feels funny calling you Auntie Meg, but I'll call you Auntie. Auntie Meg, I just want you to know that there is no expectation for anything except to come, glean everything you can, make the connections that you can make at the event. You might meet somebody off of here, like Anne Marie, who's on here. She will. Let's see. You guys are on the same platform. I'm hoping she's going to be there because she'll be a heart guide, which is somebody who goes in the breakout rooms. So you might meet her. Anne Marie does have a question. My sister has lipedema and goes from chair to bathroom and cannot get out of the house. She is in denial that she has it and will not allow me to help her. It's so sad. And Anne Marie, I'm sorry to hear this, but that's not uncommon. It's not uncommon. It's like, oh my gosh, one more thing. Are you serious? We almost prefer, now, I shouldn't say we as like collective. I'm going to say there are often those of us, me being one of them, I preferred to consider myself obese rather than having a disease.
Yeah, I get that.
And I still battle calling lipedema a disease. In my head, I don't want to call it a disease. I want to call it a condition or a disorder or this thing. But when you label it disease, it gets big and it gets heavy. And so for me in my brain, I'm like, but wait a minute, Gail, this is pretty big and pretty heavy. It controls my life. So when I think about what you're saying, Anne Marie, is it's like she would still prefer not to think of it, oh, this is aging, or this is just my lot in life, or my weakness, and it's my fault. When you finally get to that point where you say, this is a disease, it becomes not your fault, right? This is no more my fault than having lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or any other disease I might have. And then you go, okay, now that I know, I have to take responsibility for it. And that's another thing. Once you know you have lipedema, you've got to take, you don't have to, but you Now it's your responsibility not to lose weight, to manage this lipedema in the life that you can manage it with. And that's just a different mindset. And like Juanetta says, like diabetes or any of those, right? And Juanetta does say, Anne Marie, you will be there for her when she's ready.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is you cannot make people do anything or believe anything. Like if someone has, this is just my lot in life in their head, and you approach them and you say, that's not true, this is what's actually happening, I can see the signs right here, here, and here, like provide all the evidence that you want. A lot of times, if they're dead set in that reasoning, cognitive dissonance will kick in and they'll actually double down on their original belief. Like this is a known phenomenon. It happens in many different types of people, and it's not because it's just how the human brain works to decrease anguish and something that conflicts with something they believe very, very strongly.
Right.
And so the thing that can be done is setting an example. And what I'll often do is I'll approach things with, I found this interesting, and not apply it to them at all. Like the one page that we have, the Road to Diagnosis thing, you can print that out and say, oh, there's this new thing and I thought it was really interesting. And this still depends on the person, because even this much may still be a mental trigger for some people, but it often works for me to say, I found this resource really interesting. I'm trying to share it with as many people as I can. Would you mind just doing me a favor and taking a look at it and passing it on to someone if you think it'd be helpful? Because on the back of that sheet is symptoms of lipedema in people with lipedema oriented language. So it's the personal experience of it. So that's when often we're just being there, because she may have received a whole bunch of information and maybe one part in her brain is saying like, this might be you. This might be you. This might be what you're dealing with all along. And the rest of her is just shutting it down, saying, nope, nope, nope. Or any number of other things could be going on. But just being there for someone non-judgmentally with love can be so useful and such a lifesaver if she ever does reach a point of saying, I want to explore this more.
Yeah. And I'm going to share something from Sing It. She says, I'm still in mourning. I mean, I'll tell people, I went through mourning. I grieved my future. It's a lot to accept that it's ongoing, but I'm accepting it more each day. I'm sure acceptance is quite a step for her, and we're talking about for Anne Marie's sister. So there is a level of grief. There's celebration for many of us. There's denial. There's grief. There's just sometimes shock that hey, no matter what I do, this is going to be with me. And then when you get through that, it can be, oh my gosh, now I have to do this and I have to do that. And it's like, no, you don't have to do anything. But then think about who you are, right? And when you can, take a step. I want to go back to the one pager. I put in the chat the roadmap for diagnosing lipedema. It's by Lipedema Project. The link is in the comments. Share it, print it, take it to your doctor. One page of that, the front page or the back page, I don't care what page you look at first. One side of it is a message to your doctor that you can discuss. The back side of it or the other side of it is like a little check sheet for you. It has pictures. So, because some of us don't like a lot of words. I look at Siobhan and go, ooh, Siobhan, I'm not worthy, because she reads a lot of words. And for me, it's like, ooh, I want to look at the pictures. And so, how you see those pictures and you say, that's me. That's me right there. It's eye-opening, and I am tempted to take it to somebody I know and love very well and say, "I've been asked to fill this out. Will you help me?"
Mm-hmm.
You know? And see if they go, "Oh,
Wait a
that's me
minute.
too. Wait a minute, that's me too," even if it's just in the back of their head. But anyway, when I go, "Oh, that's me," because when I looked at the back of that page, I'm like, "Oh, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's literally me. That's my bathing suit and my tattoo. It's my backside." And I'm like, "Oh my god." So guys, print it out. Take take my picture to your doctor. Say that's Gail. Just write Gail across the one that has the tattoo. If
You'll
you
be
want,
a internationally recognized model, Gail.
if you
It's what
want
you've
to,
always dreamed of.
if you want to send it to me, put it in a self-addressed envelope and I'll slap the back of it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to bring up while you're giggling, Anne Marie said, "I get what you're saying. I believe it's a defense mechanism." So one thing that I've talked about a lot is that a lot of the stuff that we go through is our body trying to protect us, and it's not just the body; it's also the brain. So if people react angrily, tell you to like be quiet, don't mention that, don't talk to them about that, that's not them, denial, all of this stuff, it is their brain trying to protect themselves and their view of the world, and that's not a bad thing. Like, people need stability and they need to be able to approach things on their own terms. So shoving things away at first is them giving themselves the space that they need to even process
Right,
what was just said,
right,
let alone do anything about it. And sometimes they need years of space. Sometimes they need decades of space.
if they ever
And
come to that agree that
if they ever reach that point at all.
right,
But that is why we need to approach with understanding and respecting their boundaries when they place them. So if they say, "I don't want to talk about this," okay, let's not talk about it. Let's talk about our knitting instead. That's fun.
right, right,
Um, and understanding that this is hard. Like, this is not an easy thing, and not everybody is in a space to really deal with that information at that moment, or doesn't want to, or has a billion other things going on in their lives and they don't want one more thing. So do try to be kind and understanding and patient with them, and just know that they're trying to get through their day, and sometimes it's not easy.
right, right. And the other thing is, what if even after I do all these things, admit that I have lipedema, and I wear my compression, and I do my manual lymph drainage, and I change the way I eat, I can still barely make it from the bed to the couch or to the bathroom. What if I fail at this too?
Yeah.
That was where that was where I was. I became terrified. What if I
Mm-hmm.
fail at this too? Because I was so tired. I was just exhausted from failing, right? Because of not, I wasn't truly failing, but my brain would say, would put me down again. It would just keep slamming me down. You didn't tough it out long enough. You didn't follow this well, and
Mm-hmm.
this protocol well enough. You it just constant, this narrative in me just kept putting me down, and so I became terrified that there was no way I was going to make it through this too, that I would be able to do what I needed to do. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're right. You're right, Juanetta. It's called a portfolio of failures, and it's heavy, and yet the portfolio of success is much larger and doesn't weigh hardly anything, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's like it's amazing because because it does carry you down. And I'm not trying to analyze your sister Anne Marie, but I want to say we we go into these places, we get into these boxes and these caves, and we're like, yeah, no, I'm not facing that, not today, you know. And like and like Winetta said, successes are a butterfly, it's a butterfly on my shoulder, no weight at all, so Siobhan, I don't know if you left me or if I left you. I'm hoping I'm still live. um, so, but with that, we've been going on for over an hour. As you know, Siobhan and I can carry on quite well, and we are so grateful for you being here. Um, this is the last. Okay, so when Etta says that they see me, thank you so much. Thank you, Sing It, for saying you are. But I'm going to give you one last statement from Sing It. Gail, yes, analysis is paralysis. Why I hesitate to start anything. Accountability. She's starting the big 6 tonight. Well, I'm wishing you all the luck with that, Sing It. And if you know how, everybody knows how to get a hold of me. I'm gonna pop my email up there. It's Gail at lipedema-simplified.org. And if you want to reach out to me, let me know you're doing the big 6. Let me know which one item you decided to do with your life that's going to make your life better. If you have any questions, please feel free and to email me. There's one more question. I keep saying one more question. Tech request. Are you aware that these wonderful links are only available during the live? Can the links be pinned to the comment section in case I can't make the live? No, Patsy, I was not aware that the links were only there during live. I do know that they show up in Facebook and they show up in YouTube. So let me see what I can do with this. Nope. Can't do anything with it. I can't do it from here. So if you look at the invitations, like right now I'm putting the one pager in the invitations. Here's another thing. If you want any links I share, ever, you want a link, reach out to me. I have got a whole list of links. So, and you just email me and say, Gail, I need the link too. Okay. Because I will send you a list of links to anything you want from us. We have a provider directory. We have a calendar of events. We've got webinars coming up. We've got all the links that we do. I'll send you a link to a big 6. You just reach out to me at Gail at lipedema-simplified.org, and I'll get back. I don't check my email all day long, but I do check it once a day, and I'll get back to you. Just let me know who you are, and ask me anything you want. That's what I'm here for. That's why I'm here. So with that, okay, Nancy wants to know, what is the link to the lipedema specialist? The provider directory. Let me get that real quick for you, hon. Right there. So the provider directory is made by the community. And here it is right here, love. Okay, and I'm sorry about the construction work in the background, always under construction. And then the other thing that's I think is super valuable is Emmy's Box of Hope. And the reason I love Emmy's Box of Hope is because it will have a lot of different types of resources that you might not even know that you need or want. So there's a lot of resources as well in Emmy's Box of Hope, and I'll pop that into the comments as well. And now I've got a crying 7-year-old. Our 7-year-old has COVID, and she's just pretty miserable. So Patsy says, celebrating that we are using these powerful links. I'm in heaven with the help. Thank you, Patsy. I'm glad that you have found help from all of our work. Catherine Seo has been an amazing. She's an angel. She has brought us the most amazing organization. Drives it. Oh, she drove it by herself for years and years. I'm grateful that I can be here helping her drive this bus, or at least let non-patients on and off the bus, because without her, we wouldn't be where we are. And so I remember her talking about she said, who's going to care about fat legs? And her friend told her, Catherine, only one person has to care about fat legs, and that's you. And because her friend told her that, and because she understands if she's got these legs, somebody else does too, she has been able to keep this organization going and going. And I'm just so grateful that Catherine Seho is at the head of our ship. So with that, my wonderful, lovely audience, I appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And we're going to see you next week. So take really good care of yourselves. Love you. Bye-bye.